recording. So, hi everyone. My name is Brittany Pink, aka the Pink Aviatrix, and I'm here with Meagan Davis from Women Rock Wings, and we have some big exciting things that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned while I get to know her a little bit more and what she's about.
Yes.
All right. So, the first question is going to be, what inspired you to create Women Rock Wings?
So basically, when I was in school prior to, we had a really amazing way to study. And when in our particular study hall, mind you, I was not going to study hall when I was in college before, but in aviation, you definitely have to study a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yep.
Which is just part of what it is. And so we had a study hall where all levels of students in who were pursuing their licensure as pilots would be able to study together. So if you're a private pilot and you're stage 1, 2, or 3, you're in that study hall. A commercial pilot is in that study hall. And during that time, obviously, as we know, there are not a lot of women in the aviation field, but for the women who were in school and we were in the program, like we did connect, at least I felt like we did, of course, and we would have fun and I loved it and I learned a lot, but the community was so important. It definitely encouraged me and I loved it. So then the pandemic hit and next thing you know, everybody's spread out and yeah. And like try learning chasing VORs at home in a computer and not in class, right? And then we were also learning how to read our flight calculators online. So that was difficult. And I just really, really missed the community. So I'm like thinking about, and there were just a couple of other things that happened, but it really came out of a space of wanting community and encouraging community and encouraging women. So like I was sitting at home one day and I'm like, oh, just trying to encourage myself. And I always tell a lot of women that are in my circle, they rock. So I like it's just something I do and I'm like, oh, we rock, like, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking about flying and it just kind of came together that way, but I didn't really expect it to be as large as it's become and start growing this much. So I initially just gave out these shirts to some of the women that I used to study with in study group, just to encourage them because they were still trying to get back into flying once we started flying again. And so I just gave them out. And then on Give Back Tuesday, I just was like, let me bless some other people with these shirts. So, but that's kind of how the idea came about. And this is kind of how we got to where we are now a little bit.
Right. Excellent. Okay, so in terms of your goals for Women Rock Wings, I know you mentioned community and just having a safe space for women to study and collaborate. So is there anything else that you specifically wanted to come of Women Rock Wings?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, I didn't expect it to grow and to get the response I did, but part of just me as a person, I really, really love when people can build together. And so our goals at Women Rock Wings, and I can say our now because we have a team now, so I'm so excited.
Nice.
No, it's so exciting, just like-minded women who want to build community. So our main goals and focuses are to empower, encourage, promote, and connect women with the resources they need in aviation. And just in their goals in life, we want to support that. We want to highlight them. We want to encourage them. And so it's important to know that Women Rock Wings is not a 501c3. We are a social and network platform. And so I know people saw the name and they're like, oh my gosh, they kind of probably thought we were. And I'm like, no, I'm here. Like when it was just me, I'm just here to support, connect people, encourage people, get information out. And that's what I was doing because I'm like, hey, knowledge is power. So what I've actually done is reach out to people who are like in the 99s, who are in Sisters of the Skies, who are probably a part of like Women in Aviation. Like I don't like Women with Wings. They just started a scholarship. If you come into contact with Women Rock Wings, we want you to be sent to where you need to go. So we want to connect you with resources.
Right,
So
so it's like a hub then.
Exactly. So basically, we're
Right.
like the plug. So, you know what I mean? That's what we are. So, if you need something and maybe the 99s doesn't work for you, maybe Sisters of the Skies would. Maybe, I
Right.
Heart Flying Foundation would in their scholarship. So, we want to plug you to where you need to go. So,
Yes.
that's the goal. Like outside of just that's what community does, though, right? If you need something and I can't
Have it.
necessarily do
Right.
it, right? But I know someone who does, then
Right.
I should be
Right.
able to say to you, hey, Brittany, yo, I heard you needed a scholarship. So and so has a scholarship going on right now. Go
Right.
apply. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we just want to collectively be a plug to all these women who are out here, wanting to pursue their dream in aviation. So, yeah.
Right. So for those of us who don't know what a 501c is, can you explain a little bit what that means?
Definitely. So a 501c3 is a charity. So they basically, they give scholarships, donations, like when people donate to them in order for them to be able to give scholarships. So they also get like tax write-offs, things like that in order because they
Right.
are a charity. So we're not a charity. So we could still do like a scholar or pair with someone to do a scholarship, but their main goal is all like generally 501c3's main goal is to raise money for a specific cause.
Okay, great. All right, so we move on to the next question, which is who is your biggest inspiration?
Hmm. Definitely would have to say my mother and my grandmother outside of my faith. And my faith is like engulfed in everything I do. There is nothing that I do in my entire life that doesn't that is not tied to my faith because it is embodied in me as a human, as a person. So I would say that first and foremost, and definitely just my mom and my grandmother, for the simple fact that I didn't grow up necessarily thinking about being a pilot or seeing it in my purview, in my neighborhood where I grew up or anything like that. And, and then also to include, even though I didn't really grow up with my father, just knowing, so my heritage more so is my family is Southern on the American side of my family. And from my father's side is from Barbados. And so, just the journey to a new country. And then, he actually became an NYPD officer and detective and just those transitions when people migrate, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the way that it takes, he did it like pretty younger, but he did it in his aunt. Not his parents raised him, but his aunt raised him, and knowing that. But I grew up a lot, way more just, my mom and my grandmother, that's who raised me. And when I say like perseverance and love, especially tough love, they love the tough love part. and just knowing my grandmother, she was a mother first for years, but yet she was still an entrepreneur, and she came from the deep South, and growing up during that time just wasn't easy. And then after raising all of her children, she got her bachelor's, her master's, and her doctorate all in her 60s. And,
Wow.
still like help raise me at the same time with my mom. And then my mom had me a little young, so she, would take me to school with her so she could finish her associates. And you see that groundwork and that foundation being laid in front of you. And to me, the best way to honor it is to live well and to do well, because, they really just, they worked hard. And my grandmother, whenever she said, I want to do something, and, when you're younger, you don't necessarily know that's being instilled in you. But I'm like, yo, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then, now, and I do it, but I get that from her. If she had
Right.
an idea, she was just like, woo, and she didn't care. And she was in rehab one time because she hurt her leg. And she said, I was visiting her, and she said, Meagan, I need you to be a recommendation for me for application. And I said, grandmother, what kind of application are you filling out? And she's like, oh, I want to be a New York State chaplain.
Wow.
And I'm like, grandmother, my grandmother was my pastor for a very long time. I'm like, grandmother, do you want to do this right now? She said, are you going to help me fill this out or not? And I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am.
That's actually interesting because you are also a chaplain yourself. So
yes,
what exactly that was instilled in you from that time, and you didn't even realize, as you said.
Yeah, no, at all. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Well, she was already my pastor. And so, just talking, like you said, heritage and everything like that. At that time, I don't think at the time I definitely wasn't on the road to being a chaplain yet. I was actually still a prior aircraft. I was an aircraft electrician at the time. But she was still my pastor at that time. And like I said, faith was very involved in my life from birth anyway.
Right.
He was just like, I'm going to do this. And like, after she died, my family allowed me to keep her badge and everything like that. But she actually became a New York State chaplain at like 80. So
Wow.
like 79, 80, something like that. And I'm like,
yeah,
didn't let it stop her. So those are the women, that raised me. So I don't see how I could be how could you not be inspired?
Right, definitely. And that is very important, when you're raising children, that foundation that you set for them as parents or as wards of them, that's very important. And as you said, faith is very important as well, because that determines everything that you do in the rest of your life. So yeah, that is actually beautiful. So the next question is, what advice would you give to a new pilot or a student pilot, or somebody who is interested in aviation?
Oh, wow. I would totally say, like, first take a discovery flight. That would definitely be one of my bigger things before you start, because as we all know, training for like just in the pilot world and the aviation world, training is expensive. There are now probably more scholarships toward it than there probably ever been before. But there are people like going for those. Please still apply for scholarships, but it is expensive. So I would say, before you make that level of investment, go on a discovery flight, see if this is something for you. And some people, you're either going to be super scared or you're going to just fall in love. You might be a little scared, but if the love, to me, overrides the scare, then you're okay.
So that was a little bit of both on my first flight, not gonna lie.
She's like,
I think the love overpowers the fear.
Yeah, it really, really does. So I would say that definitely know that it is a sacrifice. Know that, like, embody that choice and say, sometime your friends who are doing other things are going to want you to go here, want you to go there. Now everything is Zoom, Zoom parties, but just know you're going to have to study. Like, that's it. So that, like, discovery flight, know you're gonna have to study, know it's an investment. Also, have a good community of support is very important. I know for me, that's been a good thriving factor. My mentor, I know we talked about inspiration already, but he's definitely been very, very, very important to my growth as a young pilot. And so I would definitely say a mentor or somebody that's close to you in the community that could support you in it, and develop good study habits, and make sure you love it. Make sure this is not something you do just to get paid. It's not, because it's just not. Make sure you love it. It's not something you do, because the journey is not always straight for everyone. There will be ups and downs and falls and lefts and rights where you just want to fly straight. And you need to know that it's going to be difficult sometimes. Like, some people, hey, they make it straight through. God bless them. I wish. I wish that was my journey, but it's not, and it hasn't been. And if I was not passionate about it, I would have stopped. And then lastly, have fun. Like, you're flying.
Yep.
You're flying a plane.
The views alone.
I saw some of your views one day. I was like, okay, like, it's gorgeous. The night, well, it wasn't night yet. It was more like day hitting evening.
Right. Sunset, after sunset.
Yeah, like, the sun was setting. Like, we were ending our flight, and it was the last takeoff and landing I could do before they would decide if I could move to the next lesson in order to
Okay.
And I was taking off, right? And the sky looked so amazing. And my instructor actually caught that. I'll always connect that moment to that picture. So yeah, the views
Yeah.
alone. But make sure you love it and have fun. So that's
Yeah.
my advice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. So moving on. Why is it important to educate women and girls about aviation?
Ultimately, to break down boundaries in our own minds. It's not even just breaking down boundaries in the world. In order to do that, you have to start here first. It's
Right.
about, honestly, it's about taking the limits off. So yes, we want you to come into the aviation field, mechanic, FBO owner, pilot, airport owner, the plethora of
Air
things that
traffic controller.
traffic controlling you, yes, like the plethora of things like that are involved in the aviation industry, which deal with STEM a lot of the time, right? We want that, of course, but we also want young girls and women to say, I don't have to be limited to what people say I have to be limited to.
Yep.
Like you just did like a virtual aviation day, Women Rock Wings, we're about to do one too. And I'm sure you were excited, not just because, oh, we're going to this airport, but it opens their minds to more. Ultimately what we want to do. And I think to me, that's the most important thing, that that little girls aren't walking around anymore feeling like they're in a box. Like,
Okay.
I can only do this or that. I just want the world just opened up to them in such a beautiful way. And it's, to me, it's one of those things. That's why one of the reasons, outside of my parents, and my foundation, that I work so hard too, is my goddaughter. And that I love, that's my baby. Her name is Aaliyah. And so she sees me.
Right.
You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
watches me. And I make it a habit, if I have like a promotion ceremony, a graduation, anything that I can expose her to. She's been, I've taken her on C-17, C-5s, and
Wow.
yeah. So this is obviously before the pandemic, but
Yeah.
she's had that exposure, and she had the opportunity, sit in a pilot seat, put on a headset, touch everything that was allowed to be touched. With
Yeah.
proper guidance.
Yeah.
But
It's important. It's important because I was mentioning to the students I spoke with at Immaculate High a couple of days ago that we live in a time where, fortunately, women are not being barred from certain things, or maybe even if they are, it's not as bad as it used to be.
definitely.
So we ought to take advantage of the time that we're living in, because we actually can do it now. Nobody's saying, oh, men only.
Yeah.
Right? Because even the first female captain of Air Jamaica,
Yeah.
when she originally applied, the application request said men only.
Wow.
And she had to apply several times before she was able to get through. So,
wow.
I mean,
Definitely.
what I was explaining to them is that we've come such a long way.
Yes.
And so that we have to take advantage of the opportunities now as women, and, continue to break the barriers so
Definitely.
that, we can actually be represented.
That's right. Exactly. Because the thing is, the more you're represented, especially in a platform where the decisions are made, the better the decisions will be for you. Because if all the decisions are being made by people who have no consideration of who you are, really, no experience,
Right.
then the decisions will not look like something that works for you.
Yep.
And that's ultimately where it is. So you're right. It's a beautiful time. It's still not easy, but we are further ahead because of women like the first female captain at Air Jamaica. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
Maria Haddad.
What's her name? Can you shout her name out?
Maria Ziade Haddad.
Okay, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like we're further ahead because of these things, because of these women who said, you know what? I will not give up. And that's, like I said, something my grandmother and my mom told me: perseverance. It won't be, especially if you're the first, it will never be easy, but it's easier every time one of us walks through a door.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So with that said, what can we expect to see coming up for Women Rock Wings?
Whew, hopefully lots of fun. Lots of fun. But like I said, we want to be that plug. Our website is launching soon. It's coming down the pipeline. We're so excited about, well, by the time this airs, I think in about a week from there. So by the end of January, we're finally like launching and we're working those wickets out, but we're hoping to definitely do aviation days, monthly study sessions. That's one of the bigger things because we know how important it is to study. So we definitely we're looking for different people to fill out the year. Once a month, we're gonna like reach out to say, what do y'all want to see this month? Or, just pick some topics ourselves too. And, whether it's somebody struggling with, airspeed and whatever it is, we're just going to get into those topics. And then what we're also working on fusing together is some level of a study pal system where people can look at profiles and just connect with someone who needs to study where they're studying, as not necessarily location, but when I say where, I mean where they are in the progression of their license. And so we're really, really looking forward to that. So that's so far where we are. And then, just keep watching the story as it unfolds. But those are the bigger things that are coming out.
Follow her on Instagram, guys, at Rock Wings.
Please do.
All right. So you mentioned that you were an aircraft electrician for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you became a chaplain in the Air Force.
Yes.
So what was your educational background, and did you always know that you were going to become a pilot or be in aviation at all?
Oh, wow. So the more clear answer to that is no.
The easy answer is no.
No.
Okay, well, tell me more. How did you end up in aviation?
So I'm going to try to condense this as much as possible for everyone. Basically, when I started out in the military, we have to take something called the ASVAB. I started out in the enlisted corps before I became an officer. And the ASVAB is an aptitude battery test. And this is basically a test to say, hey, what can this person do? Where would they fit? You know what I mean? So once you take the exam, then you see what jobs, we call them AFSCs, are available to you. And in the process of going into the military in the first place, I am not first generation military, but I am the first female in my family to go into the military.
Wow.
Yeah. So my granddad was in the military. He was in the Army during the Korean War era. My uncle was in the Marine Corps, fought in Vietnam. And they were cool dudes. Yeah, they were cool dudes. I loved them both so much, especially my uncle. I was very, very close with my uncle Junior. And so when I decided, obviously I talked to my uncle, and he always used to say I would be good in the military. And I used to I never go. So I actually didn't even think I would ever go to the military either. But as I got older, I was like, I want to do something larger than me. I want to help people on a bigger scale. And I started thinking about it. And my uncle told me not to go into the Marine Corps. Nothing is, but he said it just wouldn't fit me as a person. He knew me. So I looked at both the Army and the Air Force, but the Air Force appealed more. And I took my exam, and all of these different jobs were available to me because of my score. And surprisingly, I scored higher in mechanics than I thought I would have, honestly. And I was like, wait, I've only changed like light bulbs. And I was like, y'all want me to fix things?
How many Meagans does it take to change a light bulb?
That's all I've ever done. I said, maybe like a little screw here, screw there, for little things in the house, but nothing crazy. Magnitude of like fixing a plane. Because I mainly grew up in the house with women, so we weren't doing all that. You can, but not the women in my house. My grandmother was very, I will pay you to fix it. She was like, I'll pay so much. And so I didn't grow up really fixing stuff. So the test shocked me, and I sat down with my recruiter, and like I said, I'm very like, why not go for it? I totally get that from my grandma. So I had, like jobs that would fit me per se because of my degree, which is at the time I was pursuing a bachelor's in psychology.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so that's what my BA is in. And so I took a break from school actually to go into the military. And about like 2.5, almost 3 years in college, I was like, I'm bored with this stuff. I want to do something bigger and better. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? I read the description. I said, you know, I'm 20 years old. Why not try it?
Right. Yeah.
Not knowing, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of women, all these other things that came with it. I just said, let me try it.
Right.
and that's how I ended up in.
And the rest is history. I did that for 10 years.
Yes.
How was that? How was that experience? You mentioned being the only girl and
yes,
the only Black girl.
Yeah, so when I went through my class, so there are like we're about 200-ish, like 270 something at any given time in our dormitory for the specific jobs we had. And there are about, the women fluctuated between 20 and 30 at any given time. So there was only a hallway out of that whole building in a dorm that we could fit in because it was so like little of us. Wow. And none of us had this, not too many of us had the same job. So you could already imagine. And when you get sectioned off into your classes, there were about 10 of us, I think 8 of us in my class. And I was the only female in my class. And we started out with one other guy that was Black, but he ended up being washed back and having to repeat. So I ended up being the only female and Black person in my class for the duration until we graduated. And and I had my little pigtail. When I graduated, I was so proud. So I had my little pigtails. I'm like, I am here in front of the M-60, which is a power, an external power unit. And so it was an experience being the only female. I was treated well, but little things that I experienced that a lot of women are like, oh my gosh, you know, we're like having these things happen, is when we started class, everybody got like the guidelines and everything, what you can't do, basically what you're supposed to do. The men got like a sheet. I received like a little booklet. Yes, like, and I'm like, how come? I'm like, how come theirs is so thin? And we had to read it, finish reading it the same amount of time. And they had like a sheet and mine was like a little booklet. And I'm like, dang, like, what do y'all think is gonna happen?
Right? If anything, the men should get the booklet, right?
It's like, listen, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm like, I think I'll be fine. I'm not gonna be doing anything. But yeah, I don't remember everything it said. There were some things in there definitely about what would happen if you get pregnant while you're in training. But yeah, like, I was like, why do I get this whole booklet? Like, why do I need this? But you know, it was definitely a different experience. But in the field in particular, like I said, they were not in a squadron. There were not a lot of women. And when I graduated, I was proud to stand there and have my certificate and say, yeah, this happened. And, you know, I just went into my unit and the same thing. I was pretty much almost the only female in my shop most of the time. And, you know, like, that's just what it was. I would get on a truck and there would be men. And like I said, mostly I was treated well, but you always have people who don't want to ask certain things. And you're like, dude, just get over it. Like, you know, I've been ignored before when I've walked on the aircraft because they didn't want to give me instruction as to what's wrong, like with the aircraft so we could fix it. If I got sent up by my supervisor, if I got sent up with another airman, they would actually like talk to the dude only, like the male only. Wow. Like I wasn't standing there. Yeah. And then sometimes they'd be like, oh, well, you need to talk to her because she's more experienced than I am, you know.
Wow, like in your face, addressing me.
Like it is like her. And it is to debrief, but I would never, it's just when you're confident in who you are, that's just it. And so I'll be like, you know, I heard you, sir. And we, you know, good stuff. And, you know, but majority of my experiences were good. But the ones that were bad, you definitely remember them. And that's what's made me diligent about creating more space for people who look like me. It's made me, the experiences that hurt are the reason, are some of the reasons why I'm like, okay, when another woman sets foot in a maintenance unit, you know, whether it's military, whether she's on a flight line at FedEx, you know, I want it to be different for her You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
don't want her to be ignored because she's a woman. You know what I mean? I don't want somebody to just look over her and assume that the male has more experience than she does just
Yeah.
because he's a man. So you know, it's really honestly content of character, and your skill is what matters when you're out there.
As you mentioned skill, so did you feel like you had to work twice as hard to prove yourself in when you were an electrician, or like
That's
going
a
through
little question.
school and like when you actually were established as an aircraft electrician?
Oh,
Did you
that's a
find
loaded
yourself
question.
having to work twice as hard to prove something to somebody? Or
Oh my gosh, there was always this assumption that women would flake out. Like you know, that something would be wrong with you and you would kind of like flake out and you wouldn't want to do your job. There was that over, not for everyone, but you knew it was there.
yeah,
And I had an amazing supervisor who I love till this day. I was the first female he had ever trained in his entire military career. And I just won't put his name out there, just, you know, out of essay, but I
yeah,
loved my supervisor. And he was diligent about making sure I was not taken advantage of in any way, shape, or form. He was diligent about making sure I knew my job,
yeah,
because that was the most important thing. Is people are going to feel how they want to feel, and this is just to encourage any young woman that's watching, but find your tribe. Those people are loud that may not want you there, but find those who do, and that's louder. Let that be louder. You know
right,
what I mean? Let that be empowering. Let that be what you look forward to. Because had I focused on those feelings, of course I'd be sad. Of course, all the time. Of course, I'd be, you know, feeling like at some point in time questioning myself. Should I be there? Should I not
yeah,
be there? You know, so I'm not saying don't recognize it, like be aware of it, know who those people are, but also know who those people are that say, yes, you can, and I'm going to help you get there. So that's honestly where I focused on more, than those people who did ignore me, than those people who would look over me. And I just, you know, found a good tribe. But those times were hard. Even as training as an officer, I experienced those things. So it's not easy.
yeah.
I can't sit here and act like I have never cried because those things have hurt. I'd be lying, you know.
Yeah.
But and also not just because I'm a woman, but because I'm Black.
That's like double whammy.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
whole Black woman, you know, and those are things that you don't forget, but those are reasons why you and I are having the conversations we're having. So yeah, I do have to, not just as a maintainer, even as an officer, even when I was enlisted, definitely women have to be more vocal about their triumphs and their offices to be recognized.
Mm.
And you're kind of glazed over when you do something well, but when somebody else does something well that's kind of male, right? It's like, oh my God, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Meanwhile, you done stood up a whole program, got this done, got that done, did all of this, doing your life, and then he does one like not even big thing, and you're like, oh my God, Jesus is walking on water, and you're like, what? You know, so, and it is frustrating. So I do want to honor those feelings, you know, but honestly, find your tribe. If you know this is what God has put you on this earth to do, do it. There are more cheerers. Let the cheerers be louder than the naysayers. That's my advice.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. She's like, I know we kind of went off a lot
I
from
mean, no, but like it's
the group.
important to talk about. I haven't told you this yet, but I actually was about to go into the military here in Jamaica. But that's a whole other story that we'll talk about another time. But
Yeah.
I'll just give you one example or one thing that happened when I was on selection board for officer.
Yeah.
Like we did the whole mud run up and down and like obstacle course thing, and we
Yeah.
were looking awful. But we had
Mhm.
presentations to do right after that. So
Yeah.
we took off our helmets and we're sitting in the room. And like the officers, the selection board officers were at the back of the room and we were, you know, ahead of them. So when we went up, we would turn around and present and face them. But while my back was to them and I took off my helmet, one of the guys was like, my number was 64. Because I don't know if that's how they do it. When you guys are being selected as well, you are a number, you're not a name.
Oh,
so they were like, number 64, what is that on your head? My hair is covered in mud. So it just looks like a dead animal. And he was like, number 64, what is on your head? So I turned around and I was like, my hair?
Yeah.
And then he was like, you ever watch the movie G.I. Jane? And I'm just like, So you're implying that I need to go cut my hair off to be in the military? I'm just like, yeah, just little things like that. I didn't get in or I was accepted, but then I didn't end up going in for some other reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, just little things like that. How did you wear your hair when you were in the military?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm still in. So
yes.
No, it's okay. No, it's just like I'm still in. So sometime like this, sometime like braids, but that's changed. So that's the big deal to know. I've been in for 15 years. So I've seen a lot of changes in hair regulation to be more, not just female friendly, but ethnic female friendly.
Right.
Yeah, specifically our hair is just different. And like for us, pressing and pulling back your hair causes a lot of problems later, like alopecia.
Yeah, like no edges.
No edges. And I don't want to be walking around like that when I get out, Lord, no. And so I've always been natural. I've never had a perm my entire life. But that's what I'm talking about. But if you want to, it's on you, do your thing. I just, don't want people to feel like they have to, and that's the space we're moving out of is. But when I first came in, I definitely did press my hair more. And that can cause, heat damage, breakage, those kinds of things. But I didn't do it too often. I just made that decision to not, but that was the mindset that was groomed into you, that this is just an appearance. This is professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is it. That is it. You know what I mean? Like was the mindset is groomed into you that professional is straight and slick back. So what does that say to me? Whose hair when I wake up is nowhere.
Not like that.
Yeah, my hair is not straight. Like these the coils.
Like it automatically excludes you.
Exactly. So it automatically says I have to change the core parts of me. And so for me, I'm all about regulation for safety because we have to wear a gas mask and you want it to seal. So yes, make sure your hair is in a way that's sealable. Obviously no blues, oranges, stuff like that. I get that. But as far as just the natural state of my hair, I can't wear it. So I definitely have gone through like extension braids and then they had to make them a little bigger. So the bulk and just, I've been seeing beautiful changes. So I can say when it first started, it was a little bit more difficult. And now it's still not 100%, but it's better. And it's because women have been coming in the pipeline. They've been on those teams and making decisions and saying what we just said, this hurts. You know what it feels like to take my hair out all day after being in a tight bun? Sometimes you get bun headaches, like, and it shouldn't be the only option. So, I wear stuff like this, or if I do braids, make sure they're in regs. I'm glad we could wear braids. There were women who came through the military at a time where you could not wear braids. Right. And so I'm grateful for them. And when I wear my hair now, I mean, when I finally, because I had cut my hair used to be big like yours. So I cut it because it, like that is out of regs, considered out of regs. And when I took my picture as an, because it's just bigger, for your hat to be able to go on.
Yeah.
That's all. But like, it's nothing, it's just like your hat need to be able to go on. But so when I cut it, it was in a fro that was small enough to wear just my fro. And I was so proud to finally take my professional Air Force bio picture with my hair, with all my kings and queens. I say, y'all gonna get all this black. Just like, I was like, y'all gonna get all this black today. And it felt so good. It felt so freeing to just have my hair. And, even when I walked in to set up my picture and my hair was in my fro, I literally, and this is how it's changing, but there's still some people that haven't caught up. I was asked by the person that was intaking me. She said, hey, ma'am. I was like, yeah. She was like, so I'm not sure what they're going to say about your hair. Oh, and she didn't mean it. I could tell And so I said, so what do you mean? And and then she explained, and then all I did was repeat the regulation to her.
Right.
And then my hair fell in regs. Not to touch your collar at the time before they changed the bulk, not to exceed 3 inches in bulk. My natural hair color, not touching my eyebrows, not touching my ears, not touching my collar. I said, so my hair fits in those guidelines. So what exactly do you mean? And she just looked at me and she finished filling out my paperwork. And so what it is though, is they're not used to the texture.
Yeah, that is it. That's
being allowed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it was just one of those teaching, but it was a teaching moment. It was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I felt blessed to have that opportunity. So I wearing your hair, wearing all of those different things, and even being a chaplain and having to move in that vein, even in that field, I'm one of 5% of women who are chaplains in the entire Air Force. You know what I mean? Wow. So all of these fields ultimately led us to here. You know, I was in seminary. I have my master's in divinity. You have to in order to become a chaplain in the Air Force. And even while I was in seminary, delving into the world of chaplaincy in the military, I realized there weren't a lot of us either. You know what I mean? And so I honestly, like I said, I'm a big person in community. So all of this is embedded in Women Rock Wings, all of it. All of my experience as an aircraft electrician, my experience as a chaplain, which I love taking care of my airmen. I love being a place of grace for them. But I know how important safe spaces are. And to gather together and to connect and to say, if I don't have this, she has it. You know what I mean? So to me, that is the most important thing that came from this.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
and I love how you're just embracing your hair in the different roles that you play, because people need to see it.
That's right.
People need to see it, because I was in a pageant and they kept saying, oh, you should flat iron your hair, you should straighten your hair. And I wore my hair the way I wear my hair.
Yeah. And your hair is gorgeous.
Say again?
I said, and your hair is gorgeous.
Thank you. But yeah, it was an issue. And they were like, oh, so you're not gonna, because everybody was getting blowouts or press or whatever. And I'm just like, this is how it came out my scalp though, so this is how it's gonna be.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even on the final night, like I usually have it out, or I would wear chiny bump or bantu knots as they call it, but we call it chiny bump.
Chiny bump, yeah.
Yeah, I wore that one time, it was an issue. And then on the final night, I had it swept up in one on a nice professional looking bun, and they were like, oh, you did your hair? I'm like, yes, you can do this as well, but still natural. Yeah. Because they were just of the view that I needed to straighten my hair, but I'm just like, this is how it came out my scalp though. Yeah. So this is how I'm gonna work with it. And as you say, I've always been natural as well. And I think my parents kind of ingrained that in me, especially my mother. Like, she just took care of my hair. And then when I was old enough, I learned how to take care of my hair. So exactly, as simple as that.
Exactly.
So I am really thankful that I didn't have to, reawaken,
and when everything.
I mean, I love that everybody is on that train now. And like, some people actually didn't know what their hair texture looked like because their hair was processed when they were so small. Exactly. So it was just like, oh my goodness, like this is my natural texture or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm here for it, but I'm also happy that I didn't ever have to,
do it
over that. Yeah,
exactly. So am I. It's a grateful feeling, and like you said, now that the trend is, and I guess a different word, just more accepted, and I am glad that people are more aware of their natural selves and not ashamed or feel like they have to be something other than themselves to fit in any circle.
Yeah, and in that same pageant, like the years that followed, everybody was coming with their natural hair. So I mean,
look at you setting precedents out here.
Right?
That's what I'm talking about. Set that precedent.
Yes, ma'am. Alrighty, so let us move on now. We're gonna talk about Dalcommtech. I know you mentioned to me that you were working with them. So what do you have to tell me about Dalcommtech?
Well, they're a headset company, and Bryce and Nikki are at the helm. and they're both amazing. And I'm super blessed. And so Dalcommtech specifically connect with companies that want to support women in aviation and become affiliates and endorsements and things of that nature, because we want to actually change what the industry looks like. So Dalcommtech, headset company, amazing. And they are specifically supporting women in aviation right now. And they're doing this because basically it's a wonderful thing to do, of course, but they're doing this by, it's an amazing thing to do, but they're also doing this by having certain affiliates, us being one of them. I know Women Rock Wings is another one. I said Women with Wings, my apologies. Then Carmen, the helicopter pilot, she's another one as well. And basically they're sending out these headsets to us and saying, what does this feel like to you? Because, you know, a lot of things are bigger or too tight or just different things to consider in women in flying. You know what I mean? Headsets are not really made specifically for us. Even like how seats are made in aircraft, they're not really made specifically for us. They're based on generally males, the white male standard, right? So, and that's pretty much because that was who was flying and everything like that. So right now they're saying, hey, we're sending out these headsets. How does it feel? What do you like? What do you not like? What's going on? So it's really beautiful. And the headsets, the J1 model right now is super light, carbon fiber, and they have different cords. And I'm going to show you guys it real quick because there's a reason why we're showing it that we're going to get into that I'm super excited about. Right? We're so excited. So this is the headset. And I wish you could feel it because it's so light. And you just put it on, right? And you see it's not too like big, it's not too small. There's cushion in the top. And I love it. Like I said, it's light. And then you have different plugs that are changeable that can connect to your headset, which is another thing that I love. So it doesn't just work in the aircraft. So this would be the one. And this is how you turn it up and down, right? And then you also have one that can plug into your laptop, which is so amazing.
Because a regular headset as well, not just for flying.
Yeah, so you could use it in multiple things. They have aux cord. It could go to some people's phones. Somehow you can connect it. Another thing they have right here that I love is that you can track the warranty of the headset. And yeah, which is really cool, near field communication. So it's all these different things. Dalcom is also working on customizing so that way color. So they've been talking to women and asking about colors. Yes, mine is coming. We're going to be talking about color palette. So that was one thing I was like, listen, you definitely got to do colors. But the reason why we're doing that is we like they said, is like Dalcom really wants it to be more comfortable with women. So also, if you want to get one, you can go to Women Rock Wings website when it launches, or you can go to the Linktree and use the Women Rock Wings coupon and you can get 15% off. So they've worked like that because, you know, it's expensive. So that's one way. Also, they're helping women and coming into aviation. So definitely use the coupon if you want to purchase one. But more importantly, I'm here to announce, and I'm excited to announce, we are giving away Women Rock Wings and Dalcommtech have paired up, and we are giving away a headset. So all we need is for people to apply. The link is coming soon. So by the time this airs, this link will be out here. You're just going to have to go to womenrockwings.com so you can apply, and we're going to pick someone, and an amazing young woman who we're going to see this story, and don't be afraid to share your story. And we're excited, and it is going to be open to the United States and the Caribbean.
That was gonna be my next question. Like,
yes,
get in on it.
Yes, you can. So we're so excited, and we're so grateful, like I said, to the wonderful, wonderful team at Dalcommtech. It's open to the U.S. and Caribbean. Definitely, the applicant is specifically for women, so you definitely have to be a female to apply. And we are, you'll see the qualifications, but it's nothing like crazy. Definitely, you just have to already, you know, like you're starting to pursue at minimum your private pilot's license, and you know, like that, and moving through your training some way, shape, or form, and you know, name, all that stuff. And you have to be willing to share your story once we announce. Of course, we want to see that beautiful face. We want to see you flying. So like I said, Women Rock Wings and Dalcommtech giving away a J1 model headset. So everything like is going to be great. You're going to get your headset, you're going to get your cords. They have a cool remove before flight tag that comes in there in the pen too, because we always got to write that logbook, right? Log those hours. So we're so excited, and thank you for letting us finally break this news on your show or your YouTube channel, because I've been like holding this so long. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So we're so grateful to be able to bless some young woman, wherever she may be, with a headset. And of course, we hope to definitely have more of those to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're welcome. And thank you for reaching out to me as well to carry this huge news. So just in closing, I'm going to ask one final question.
Yes.
What are your top 3 values, and how do you think they've helped you on your aviation journey?
Top 3. Faith. Faith, hard work and perseverance are tied together in love. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Everything I do embodies those 3, 4-ish things. I know everyone is not someone who has a faith belief, but for those who are, and for me specifically, I can't imagine my life without having the ability to know that the things that are not seen are. And it's not just me saying, but walking in that direction. So to make them are, you know what I mean? To make them.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what it is. I think that there's such a big misconception of faith, of that magically things appear. No, faith is the hope that it can come. And then when you walk in the direction of what you hope can come, wonderful things happen. And for me, that's like really how I live my life. Faith is me saying at 34 years old, I'm going to fly. And knowing all the things that won't be easy that come with it, but my faith builds in those moments to say, I want to do this. How do I do it? And take the steps to do it. Perseverance and hard work are things that are diligent. They're built in me, you know, whether it was my grandmother being an entrepreneur and owning multiple businesses from the time before I was born until, you know, I was, and I could see and watch her do it. And whether it was my mom, you know, helping my grandmother type her papers, or my mother having 2 jobs and saying that she was going to establish more for me so I could do more. Okay. You know, and it not be easy, and watching them recover well. And that's what, you know what I mean, in their in persevering through adversity. So in hard work, because just because you go for a goal does not mean the path will be laden with pearls and diamonds, you know?
Not at all.
Look, not at all. And if I did not have, how has it affected me? If I can give an exact example in my flying training, if I did not have any level of perseverance and hard work, when the pandemic hit, I would have let this go.
Yeah.
I would have let it go, because I didn't fly for like almost over 6 months. And I was at the very beginning of my private pilot's license, where your consistency matters at the up.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned you were supposed to solo like the very next day, and then you got grounded.
Yes. So could you imagine? You're like, finally, all this work, all this stuff, here we go, boom, no. And then the no lasts for a long time. So you have to have that faith to say that, okay, this can happen, the perseverance and the hard work to work toward the can. And then I love it.
Yep.
Then I love it.
10 years to get my PPL, and it's only love.
She's like, love, Lord, love. And so, yeah, I love it. I'm passionate about just what it represents, you know, and not just loving the fact that I get to soar. And, you know, even though, and people only see the glamorous parts, you have to love it outside of the study. And if you're somewhere cold or hot, or you're outside with the aircraft, you have to fuel it up. You got to do pre-flight checks, and all that stuff is not always for time, bending down, checking the struts. And,
getting dirty. I mean,
yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, but that's not the part that's highlighted. You know, it's the glamorous part of us actually flying, taking cute pictures in the cockpit, you know, clear props, selfie, and the beautiful views, but not you like, oh my gosh, with a flight calculator trying to plot a course, or, you know what I mean? Like you don't see that. So the love takes you like over the top. So definitely, though, that's how it's helped me, and I hope maybe that helps somebody see something too.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Meagan. It has been awesome chatting with you. I've learned so much about you and your background in aviation, and you know, this amazing partnership that you have with Dalcommtech. So excited for all the big things to come, and yeah, we have to touch base again once the website is launched. So yeah, we can definitely talk about it even more. Follow her on Instagram, people. She is at Women Rock Wings. I'll put her handle up here on the screen, and follow me on Instagram as well, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, guys. Talk soon.
Finally,
like.
Say cheese.
Oh, cheese.
Because I'm gonna put it up. I'm like, oh my god, you wanna take one too? Yeah.
Why not? Wait.
Like, so excited. I know.
Enough for bloopers.
Wait, oh. What is this? Wait, hold on, drop the cord. How do you put it like that? Wait, how do I put it like that? Oh my god. And I was already putting it on backwards. Delaware Park, Warrior 493 Delta Sierra, takeoff 27, Delaware Park.
93 Delta Sierra, cancel takeoff clearance. Traffic, half-mile final.
That was my actual call for my solo. That was my aircraft.
Okay. Oh yeah, show me that.
I don't want to buoy flash anybody though.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Okay, November 49305. Oh no, 49300.
Delta Sierra.
Oh, that's a D. Oh, I thought that was a 0.
Delta Sierra. Can we pause for a second?
Okay.
Yes.
Pause. It says your bandwidth is low. Actually, we're established as an aircraft electrician.
Different chargers. Not necessarily call it charger like it's a phone.